Pokemon Trainer is a character that was introduced back in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and this character was truly revolutionary at the time. Before Brawl, the craziest feature we had seen for a character was the ability to switch between Sheik and Zelda mid-match in Melee, but Pokemon Trainer added a whole extra layer by allowing you to switch between 3 different characters. There's Squirtle, the small and fast Pokemon to easily start combos with, Ivysaur, the medium-weight zoner, and of course the fan favorite Charizard, who was slow but an extremely heavy hitter. Now, as a big Pokemon fan myself and a big fan of Smash, I've always wondered how certain Pokemon would work in a game like Smash. I mean, we've got over 1,000 Pokemon now, so there's literally endless possibilities for characters that could get added into Smash, so it's always fun to kind of theorize like how they would work in the game. We've seen some really popular Pokemon get added to Smash throughout the years, but we've also gotten some questionable picks that I don't think anyone would have expected. That being said, Pokemon Trainer is the character that has always stood out to me because I thought it was so cool that you could switch between 3 different Pokemon, and each one of the Pokemon plays so differently from one another. And sure, you can go into a match and only choose to play 1 or 2 of the 3 Pokemon, but to truly master this character, you have to have a full understanding of how and when to use each Pokemon for each specific matchup. There's currently 9 different Pokemon regions, with each region consisting of a trio of starters. Now obviously a lot of things have changed in both the Pokemon franchise and the Smash franchise since Pokemon Trainer was originally introduced in Brawl. I mean, since Brawl came out, we have over double the amount of Pokemon regions. So the big question I have is, what would a Pokemon Trainer character look like from each region of Pokemon? The Pokemon Trainer that we know has Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard, so what if we created a Pokemon Trainer for each region that had the starter evolution, the middle evolution, and the final evolution? We've got to figure out which specific evolution is going to fit which specific slot. Each starter has 3 evolutions, which means that every region basically has a pool of 9 Pokemon to choose from to create a Pokemon Trainer in Smash. And believe me, for some regions, this choice makes a massive difference depending on which evolution you pick. Just imagine if the Pokemon Trainer that we have today actually consisted of Charmander, Wartortle, and Venusaur. That would be a completely different character. You wouldn't be able to fly around the map with Venusaur, like it would be a completely different character, it would function completely different. So basically each specific evolution that you pick has a major impact on how the overall character would shape up to be. So to answer my question, today I will be going through each region and picking the trio that I would pick for a Pokemon Trainer to represent that specific region. So far the closest thing we've actually gotten in Smash to represent other regions are just some trainer skins to represent some of the fits that we've seen throughout the years. That's about it. Speaking of fits, we've got to give a massive shout out to this video's sponsor, Into the AM. If you ever find yourself looking for something that's comfortable to wear and presentable in public, but you can't ever seem to find the right combination of both, then there's no need to worry anymore because Into the AM has you covered. Into the AM offers premium apparel with a variety of different designs that will catch your eye right away. Their shirts are handcrafted with care and provide the perfect balance between comfort and style. And as somebody on the taller side, I always struggle to find shirts that fit me because large shirts basically turn into crop tops, so I really like the shirts from Into the AM because they actually fit me. I'm wearing a large right now, and as you can see, the length is perfect for me. If you're a fan of graphic tees, there's tons of designs for you to choose from, and you can get started with the graphic 3-pack for $60. Or if you're like me and you constantly need basic shirts for work that look and feel nice, then you can get the 3-pack of basic tees for $50. And what's even better is you can get an additional 10% off when you use the code TUBA at checkout or click the link in the description below. And now back to the video. With 9 different Pokemon regions, of course we have to start off with the OG region, and that is the Kanto region. But honestly, there's really not too much to talk about here. And that's because the character is already built for us, and in my opinion, it's built the correct way. Charizard is by far one of the most popular Pokemon of all time out of any region, so it makes sense that Charizard stays as the final evolution choice for this character. For the middle evolution slot, Ivysaur definitely makes more sense than Wartortle in my opinion, and that's because Squirtle and Wartortle don't seem that different from each other. I imagine if they went with Wartortle instead, it would basically play the same as Squirtle, maybe if anything just be a little bit slower, so I really don't see the benefit of including it. Meanwhile, Ivysaur is kind of just an enhanced version of Bulbasaur in general. The bud on its back is in the process of blooming, and that's kind of what gives it that strong aroma that allows you to have crazy moves like, you know, up air and down air, and yeah, it's just a good Pokemon overall. I personally love the way that the Kanto trainer is currently constructed right now. I think it just makes sense to Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard. Maybe because that's what we actually have, right? So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but in my opinion, that's the best way to go for Kanto. Now the Johto region was definitely one of the harder ones for me to come up with, but I think I found something that kind of works. Out of the 3 basic starters, it kind of came down to Sinnoh and Totodile for me, but ultimately I decided on Totodile, and I'll explain why in a second. Aside from just being a water Pokemon, the obvious feature to Totodile is its bite. So I definitely think his moveset would incorporate some kind of command grab similar to Wario's bite. And in the Pokemon games, Totodile gets access to Ice Fang, so I think that'd be a cool thing that you could also incorporate and kind of have a freeze effect to it. Out of the middle evolutions, it just made the most sense to include Bayleaf. And really when I was looking at the entire Chikorita line, I wasn't really expecting much. All three of them kind of like didn't seem like a fit for Smash, but it does seem like Bayleaf is kind of the most unique. And that's because like the necklace around it basically gives off this aroma, so I could definitely see them doing some kind of smoke screen, or something that you can kind of set around the map, or like slow enemies, you know what I'm saying? You could do something with that, I'm sure. And for the final evolution slot, that's going to leave Typhlosion, but I've got to go with the Hisuian Typhlosion. Now, I completely understand if you think that Hisuian Typhlosion shouldn't count because it's a Johto trainer, like they've got the Johto form, but in my opinion, I think Hisuian Typhlosion would be a massive upgrade. And if you didn't know, the cool thing about this Pokemon is that, it's pretty calm in nature until you make it mad, and then it will basically incinerate enemies until even ashes don't remain. And yeah, that sounds like it's kind of strong. So for this Pokemon, give it some kind of fire and ghost moveset. There's lots of cool things you could do with that, and then incorporate some kind of rage mechanics where when it hits a certain percentage, maybe it gets some kind of boost. And altogether, that sounds like a pretty cool Pokemon trainer in my opinion, and definitely a really good pick for the Johto region. Okay, so now we're 3 generations in, and I know I just keep following that pattern of like the water, the grass, and then the fire. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I promise it's not like that for every region, but it just makes too much sense to not include it for this region. When you look at a Pokemon like Torchic, there's really not a whole lot there. It's got like no arms, it's just got legs. So obviously we can't choose that one. So that's why I decided to go with Mudkip instead. And I don't know why, but when I look at this thing, it kind of just reminds me of Crag from Rivals of Aether. Like the little fin on its head, I can definitely see the up tilt being the same, kind of having some kind of ground type moves. Even though it's technically not a ground type Pokemon, it's basically there. Basically just like a smaller and faster version of Crag. I think they'd be pretty cool. And while we're on the topic of Rivals of Aether, let's just keep it going and include Grovyle. This Pokemon would have a lot of cool things. One of the big things, of course, would be Bullet Seed. And no, I'm not talking about the Bullet Seed that Ivysaur has. That one's garbage. But like an actual like horizontal Bullet Seed makes a lot more sense to me. I think this Pokemon could be like kind of like a fast zoner, give it stuff like Seed Bomb, like little traps you can put around the map. There's like a lot of cool stuff you can do with the moveset. And that obviously just leaves Blaziken as the last slot for this Pokemon character. Obviously, this would be probably some kind of fast, heavy combo hitting character, and just like a flashy character in general. Obviously, like not really a heavyweight, kind of more of a lightweight, but definitely just like a fast Pokemon that hits hard. This was kind of a tough region because I really like all 3 starters, especially like the Trico line. I think all 3 of them would be perfect for a game like Smash, but I definitely think Grovyle kind of just is that glue that we need to kind of piece this character together for Hoenn. Now we have arrived to Sinnoh, the region where we finally mix things up a little bit here. I decided to go with the lineup of Piplup, Monferno, and Torterra, and I'll explain exactly why. Piplup is the obvious choice in my opinion for the basic starter, and that's just because I feel like it could bring something unique to the table. I mean, it's a penguin, it's technically just a water type, but it does have access to some ice type moves, so kind of just incorporate that water ice, you know what I'm saying? I know I keep referencing Rivals of Aether, but like there's so many moveset ideas that I have, like from that game that could transition into Smash. Obviously, I'm not giving like exact clones. I'm just kind of helping you guys visualize my ideas in my head for like what these Pokemon would have. So the thing I'm getting at is the fact that Piplup could have some kind of similar moves to Edelus in Rivals of Aether. Give it access to like Icy Wind or something where it can freeze parts of the stage and kind of like slide around with its dash attack. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. For the middle evolution, I went with Monferno, and the final evolution, I went with Torterra. And honestly, it's kind of just because I don't really see Grotto fitting into this game. Whereas, Monferno and Infernape, like it's not like a huge upgrade. It's kind of like a very similar Pokemon in my opinion. So I'd like to see Monferno as that middle stage of evolution that we're going to include for the character. And this is going to be kind of just a basic fighter, nothing like too crazy, just have a cool moveset, I guess. And then Torterra would be obviously a very heavy character, a more grounded Pokemon, have grass type attacks, ground type attacks, just give it something like really cool like that. And unfortunately, it would probably have a terrible recovery. But yeah, that's going to be the Pokemon trainer for the Sinnoh region. Probably like one of my least favorites in my opinion, just because a lot of these Pokemon, like I don't really see them fitting into Smash, but I mean, Empoleon's already in a fighting game, so, maybe I got this one wrong, but this is my pick. Now, the Unova region is one of the more polarizing regions. You either kind of love it or you hate it. Me personally, I love it. I think it's a great region. And creating a lineup for this region was honestly super easy for me because it kind of just clicked as soon as I looked at the starters. Out of the basic starters, Snivy is definitely the way to go. It's a small, fast snake, and it kind of loses its arms and legs later on, so I think we should utilize it while it has those things. This would kind of just be like a Squirtle in a way. Like, I definitely think that a lot of the basic starters, they bring different things to the table. I think Snivy would just kind of be a fast, grass version of Squirtle, if that makes sense. Now, some of you might have thought that I would have picked Oshawott, and you know, I definitely would have, but I think Duat is just such a cool Pokemon. It is my definite favorite middle evolution out of any starter, and I think like there's no way that we can't include it in this. And unlike Oshawott, it actually has 2 shells instead of 1 to attack with. And that obviously means that Emboar is going to be my choice for the final evolution in this region. And I know what you're thinking, we already have a bipedal, like fire boar kind of character, you know, Ganondorf. So I guess Emboar would kind of be a clone of Ganon, except like a little more fire, a little less sword, and maybe even more heavy than Ganon, if that's even possible. Overall, pretty solid lineup, I would say. The Kalos region was a little bit complicated because a lot of these Pokemon we've seen before in fighting games. One of them obviously being Greninja, who is currently in Smash. So I guess that kind of just like automatically fills that slot. We're just gonna roll with Greninja. I think it's a good pick. It's a cool character already in the game. And that means for the middle evolution, we've got to go with Braixen, the Pokemon that's already in a fighting game. It's in Pokken Tournament. Yeah, this is like one of the most random inclusions to Pokken Tournament. I don't really know why they added Braixen. It really felt kind of out of the blue, just like to include some random middle evolution out of a starter that's like not even super popular. But I mean, I'm not complaining because like back when I played Pokemon Unite, I used to always play Delphox. It was like a really cool moveset. It's basically like a mage kind of character, so I definitely think that has a place in Smash. Like if Greninja wasn't already taking that final evolution slot, I would have definitely chosen Delphox. But Braixen kind of does the same thing. It's going to basically fill that mage kind of role, be a heavy zoner, and it would really be a cool addition to Smash. And out of the basic starters, that's going to leave Chespin, and this is the Pokemon that I really don't have much to say about his moveset except that it probably looks something a little similar to this. And again, I have to say the combination of these 3 Pokemon for the Kalos region, definitely one of my favorites as well. Like I'm just imagining some of the movesets here and I'm like, man, like why haven't we gotten more Pokemon trainers? Like it's such a cool idea. We've now arrived to Generation 7, and once again we have another Pokemon that's already currently in Smash with Incineroar. It's obviously going to stay there. It's got the unique wrestler style that like no other character in Smash currently has, so it just definitely makes sense to keep Incineroar. And I mean, before Incineroar, like its pre-evolutions are literally just basic cats, so nothing crazy there. The middle evolution is tough. I'm going to go with Brion. I really don't have much else to say about it. Like I feel like all 3 middle evolutions are so bad for this generation. Like I don't know. I mean maybe Dartrix, but like I like Rowlet a little bit more. Rowlet makes way more sense as the basic starter for this generation. And it's basically going to be a small bird that's either going to have multiple jumps or it's going to be able to fly around and it's going to be able to shoot arrows. Like this is something that would be really cool in my opinion. And overall it'd be kind of a cool character. You got like this small little, you know, flying around bird. It's like a zoner. You got like the grappler, wrestler, you know, big cat, heavyweight. And then you got that thing. So yeah, pretty cool trainer. For Generation 8 in the Galar region, I had another hard time piecing this character together, and not because there were like bad choices, it's because they were all really good choices in my opinion. I think all 3 final evolutions would be amazing additions to Smash. Out of the 3 basic starters, I decided to go with Grookey because in my opinion, it's the most unique out of the 3. It carries a stick around, and it would probably be around the same size as Meta Knight, so you can kind of see where I'm going at with this. Obviously, Grookey can't fly, but maybe give it like a tether recovery with Vine Whip and really incorporate the stick into the moveset. Out of the middle evolutions, I kind of had a hard time picking between Raboot and Drizzle, but ultimately I decided on Drizzle. And while having a sniper with Inteleon as the final evolution would be really cool, I think having Drizzle be the middle evolution just makes more sense. This Pokemon is known to be lazy and it's also known for setting up traps to keep enemies out. It's able to basically make water balloons to attack, and to me that sounds like an endless possibility for a moveset in Smash with all different kinds of traps that you can put around the map, so I'm all for it. And lastly we have the final evolution, which is going to be Cinderace. This Pokemon is obviously known for like the flaming ball of fire and the powerful legs, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, but the first thing that comes to mind whenever I think of a moveset for Cinderace is LeBron James. If you ever played Multiverses, you know, before he died unfortunately, basically LeBron had a basketball as a big part of his moveset, and I can see the same thing happening with Cinderace, except it would be like a soccer ball basically. And yeah, there's a lot of cool ways you can incorporate it into Smash. There's legitimately so many different combinations for this region specifically, but in my opinion, this is the way to go. And after 8 regions, we finally reached the final region, the Paldea region, and in my opinion, I came up with the perfect Pokemon trainer to represent this region. And it all starts with Quaxly as the basic starter. It of course would be kind of similar to Rowlet. It would be another small bird with multiple jumps and some projectiles to go with it. And I could definitely see this thing having some kind of bubble attack, similar to Orcane from, again, Rivals of Aether, to kind of slow characters down. The middle evolution I'm picking for Paldea is going to be Florigato, and for the first time, we're going to have a Pokemon that's a sword character. When you look at all of Florigato's Pokedex entries, it says that it keeps a vine tucked away with a bud at the end of it, and that's what it uses to fight other Pokemon. In other words, this is going to be a sword character. And that means the final Pokemon we have to mention today is going to be Skeledirge. This thing will be a beast that does massive damage despite its slow speed. It's also got the little Firebird on its nose that could be used in its moveset, and in the games it has a signature move called Torch Song, which boosts its special attack. So for Smash, it could be some kind of move that you charge up and it gives it a stat boost for a short period of time. So that means the final version of Pokemon Trainer to represent the Paldea region is going to include Quaxly, the small flying bird, Florigato, the sword fighter, and then Skeledirge, the heavy hitter. Now that I think about it, having a sword character thrown into this, into a trio of characters that aren't sword characters, might be a little bit broken, but I'm sure there's ways to balance it. Either way, it's still a cool idea. And that's it, a Pokemon Trainer character to represent every single Pokemon region that we've ever seen for Smash. Now, obviously, there's no way we can get all of these Pokemon Trainers in Smash one day, I really doubt that, but these are just cool ideas to kind of represent each region because all the Pokemon are just so different that we see nowadays. I do think if we eventually get a new Smash game and they were to release more characters, obviously, I could definitely see them doing a Pokemon Trainer with an updated version of the new Pokemon. So unfortunately for generations 2 through 8, this probably just not gonna happen. That being said, let me know in the comments which Pokemon Trainer was your favorite and what trio of Pokemon you would include for that character. I think for me, even though I really don't like this region at all, I definitely think Galar would be one of the coolest ones. If you enjoyed this video, or you enjoyed Pokemon, or you enjoy Smash, or you just enjoy watching my videos in general, make sure you like the video and you subscribe to the channel. I say this every single video, but we're getting closer and closer to 10,000 subscribers, and every single one of your subscriptions helps. And thanks again Into the AM for sponsoring this video, and as a reminder, you can go ahead and click the link in the description to get a discount code on some awesome clothes. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next video.